Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be on the subject of how I made six figures my first year out after being incarcerated almost 12 years. Before I even get started, just so you know, to give you the context, right? Like when I was incarcerated initially, what was out was the iPhone 1, right? That was the big thing. And I get out and now we're up to iPhone 12. And if you guys know the difference between those two, you'll kind of get an idea of how things have really moved forward, right? I mean, the things have changed completely. iPhone 1 is nothing like what iPhone 12 is right nowadays, or iPhone 14 or 15 or whatever number they're on now, right? So I was behind the curve, right? Behind the eight ball, so to speak. And but what I did is I thought, well, what is it that I can do? What skill can I learn, right? Maybe I have some knowledge on, but what skill can I learn that I can quickly leverage? And it was selling. So I quickly started just listening to books on selling and selling techniques, books on believing, right? Believing and thinking big, right? Because it's important for you to be able to think big and believe that you can accomplish those goals, those big lofty goals, in addition to being able to have those skills, right? The selling skills. So I did that, and that was probably one of the first things that I did to really get going in that direction. The second thing that I did is that I found, because of the selling techniques, right, that I learned, I was able to quickly negotiate a pretty good wage at a company. That was my first job. Just to give you guys some context, right, without going into the numbers, I negotiated such a good wage with this company that to go in as an accountant, and I negotiated such a good wage that when I went in and started with the company, it actually caused some problems because I negotiated a wage that was higher than what their accountant was making, who had a master's degree. I didn't have a master's degree, and he had been with the company for years, and I was making more than he was, and that's how good I had gotten at negotiating. I mean, I remember that call, and I got them up to go up about $6 an hour from where they wanted to be at. Pretty significant, right? So I started working there, working long hours. Also had kind of a little side hustle that I was doing some legal work on the side, some paralegal work, and that was also pretty lucrative. Not as lucrative in some ways, right? Because I had to invest a lot of money in office supplies and stuff like that. But I was doing both of them at the same time, working long hours, probably working about 70, 80 hours a week. Some weeks probably more than that. But I wanted to save up as much money as possible. I was not spending that money. I was living well below my means. I had done the numbers. My cost of living, right, for everything on a monthly basis was around $3,000. So something interesting, if you've never done this, if you can figure out what your monthly nut is, right, what does it cost for you to be able to survive on a monthly basis? That's everything, including if you have to have have fun on the weekends and go out and spend some money at wherever. Take that into account. Whatever that number comes out to on a monthly basis, break that down per day. And if you want to just think of it this way, because that's what I did. I was thinking about it. For me, it was about $3,000. So I thought, if I can't make more than $100 today, then all I'm doing is just surviving, right? I'm just treading water. I'm not getting ahead. And then if I go and actually spend some money, right, go and buy a pair of shoes and spend $100, well, now I'm in the negative, right? Now I got to make $200 just to come back to break even. It's kind of it's just one way of looking at things. You don't have to look at it that way. I thought it was an interesting way for me to look at things because it kind of gave me an interesting perspective on things. Secondly, so if you're able to work hard, right? Work hard, save money, and that's what I was doing. Initially, the idea of saving 20 or 30% of my check sounded difficult, but like I explained a moment ago, eventually I was able to do that. I was able to save just big chunks of money. I started off with 10%, bumped it up to 15, 20, got up to 30%, sometimes even as much as 40% of what I earned, I was able to save. And the reason I wasn't able to save even more than that, right? Because if my cost of living was only $3,000 and I was making initially, before I really hit my stride, right? I was bringing in about $8,000 a month. The reason I was not able to save, right, the $5,000, the difference between the 3 and the 8, is because I was also investing in books and investing in my education and investing in various things, right? That was not part of my cost of living. That was just me investing, right? Going above and beyond what it took for me to survive. But the point is, you save money. And then once I had a nice amount of money saved up, right? I had 5 figures saved up. Pretty quickly got up to, about $10, $15, $20,000 saved up. And when I got to that point, I started listening. In fact, before that, I was already listening to books on business. And I mean, not motivational books, right? Those are great, but I'm talking about like nuts and bolts of business, like Good to Great, Only the Paranoid Survive, or Principle, right? By Ray Dalio. So started listening to books like that. And what I did is that I started kind of looking at businesses differently, right? Like I said, this is like actual education. It's not just motivation. And once I was able to really wrap my mind around kind of what made certain businesses unique or certain businesses fail or succeed or whatever, right? Still learning that process. But once I started getting a better understanding of that, right, through these books, then I decided to go ahead and to use some of that money that I saved up and invest in the next business idea, right? And take a risk that money to make more money. Through that process, right, I also was able to disconnect, right? I managed to find a way to disconnect my time with the money that I was making. What I mean by that is I wasn't trading hours for dollars, right? Because that's what most of us do, and I had to continue doing that. During that first year, I had to continue trading hours for dollars, but on the side, I was actually had a business that was not, where I was not trading hours for dollars. And that's hard at first, right? There's not much money there, right, to be made, but eventually that picks up steam, and then you start doing pretty well. Anyways, I guess ultimately once I found two things, I had two things going on that I was doing, and they were both, at that time fairly lucrative, and then I just doubled down. So when you find something that works, then you double down and you work hard again. Because the idea is to be able to take it to the next level, right? Saved up 20,000, but that's not enough. Let's see if we can get to 100,000. Let's see what can we invest in once we have 100,000 just sitting there in cash, right? That's the thinking, and that's exactly what I did. So I just doubled down, worked harder, and I quickly got to the point where I was making over 20,000 a month. By the end of the year, I made well over six figures, right? Made well over 100,000. And so anyways, it was a cool journey. Now at this point, right, at this stage, I'm trying to figure out how I can get to the next level, right? We're trying to, six figures is not enough. Let's see how we can get to seven figures in a 1 year period. And my team and I right now have two businesses, a commercial real estate business where we do land entitlements and wholesaling. And then I have another business where I'm a partner at a law firm. And between the two businesses, I think we'll be able to hit seven figures, and that's what I'm working on. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful to you guys, and look forward to seeing you guys in my next video.